Hi and welcome. My name is Sam and I'll be bringing you this session. Today we're asking, what is the role of young people in positive disruption? If we are going to redesign our economic system, we need as many people involved as possible. In particular, young people, for whom history shows to be a key engine for social change. So, as a decade of unprecedented disruption lies on the horizon, young people must step up and challenge old orthodoxies, both within economics and beyond. So we're here today to ask how we can do that. This session is being orchestrated by Economics for Change. We're a student-led society that's striving for economics to be fit for the 21st century. The structure of this session will be 3 short interviews. I'm joined by 2 guests, and the first guest is going to interview me. So here we go. Oliver is a politics and economics student, and he also co-founded a really interesting student platform called The Broad.
Thanks very much, Sam. You've touched on Economics for Change's aim. Do you want to expand on any of those aims?
Yeah, sure. So Economics for Change wants to mobilise a new generation of economic thinkers to step up to those challenges and to also work towards a reformation of both economic theory and economic practice to an economics that is fit for the 21st century and to a system that works for the people and the planet alike.
So, in terms of economic theory, what would you like to see change?
I think more than anything else, I'd like to see it relevant to the world we live in. Across the UK, we're seeing economics education being disconnected from the world we live in. And I take the view, as a student, we couldn't ask for a more exciting time to study economics. The world around us is changing so rapidly, and that's putting large parts of our economics education into serious question. AI is challenging production and the role of labour. Climate change questions our engine of growth. Stagnant living standards is compelling us to ask for whom is economic growth working for. So, as our economy around us changes rapidly, our education seems to stand stubbornly still. And as the problems that define today become more interconnected and more complex, our education seems to get narrower. And that's a big problem in my eyes.
So you talk about economics and education, but what do you think is the implication of that in the real world?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Economic theory really shapes economic policy and thereby the world around us. And so many people argue today, 10 years on from the financial crisis, that the mess we find ourselves in is just as much an analytical failing as anything else. And that really resonates with me.
You mentioned reforming economics. How are we going to do that? How is this reformation in theory and practice going to happen? Big question.
Big question.
What are you doing? What are you doing
to
bring about that reform?
On the practice side, we've developed a campaign called Time for Change. And this is a simple but exciting message, which is our economy is no longer working. And that presents a once-in-a-generation opportunity to redefine our economic system. And our generation cannot let this slip. And it's also going off part of the analysis done by IPPR on their Commission on Economic Justice, which stresses economic consensus has fractured, a spectacle we've only seen twice in the last century. And both times that led to a dramatic shift in economic policy. But today we're not seizing that opportunity. And I think many people our age forget that with a decade of disruption lying on the horizon, the script isn't written. And for me, an unwritten script presents quite an empowering concept that the future is our choice, and it presents even more importance on having a conversation of what a modern capitalism fit for the 21st century would look like.
So what can viewers who are young, who are our generation, what can they do to get involved with Time for Change or just make a difference and try and reform the economy for the better?
I think the first thing, I really like this framing that's growing of the seed, is the framing of economic justice. Ask yourself, what does economic justice look like? The 20th century was one where young people put huge efforts into advancing social justice, and it propelled society forward. In the 21st century, I think the challenge for our generation is to define what economic justice looks like in developed countries.
Thank you very much.
Well, shall we switch roles?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, here we go. My time to interview Ollie. I'm going to go Paxman on you. How do you feel about that?
I'm ready.
Okay, so you're an economics student, doing economics with politics.
Yeah.
How do you find it?
It's good, it's good. I think that a lot of economics, especially, is focused on, it's really good at analysing what's happened in the past, but it's not very good at making predictions, as we've seen with the financial crisis and so on. So, in terms of what you were just talking about economic justice and the future and solving the problems for the future, it doesn't really provide us with any real answers. It teaches you how to think economically and how to approach problems in a logical way, but it assumes a lot of things and doesn't really take into account the change that's going to come in the future that we can't really anticipate.
And as you do it alongside politics, are the two working in harmony together?
They've become more specialised and more specific. That's kind of led to the fracturing of politics and economics. And I think there is a lot of room for them to come together. You can't really have economic policy or economics without politics. Likewise, you can't have politics without economics. They're inseparable from each other.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, that the university's role in bringing about the future. Any ideas?
Yeah, so I think that education does two things. It creates academia, which is like the thought leadership of our society, but it also provides students with skills to go into other industries and just get a good job. So we really have to find, and I think it's become too focused on that second point, just trying to get people to come through, get a degree and get a job, and kind of lost focus of the thought leadership, I suppose.
Okay, interesting. So you co-founded a pretty unique student platform, The Broad. Do you want to tell us why you think it's important?
Yeah, so basically, firstly, what we do is we publish opinion piece articles written by students on a broad range of topics: social, political, economic problems and current affairs. And also what we want to do is create an arena of ideas where we believe a competitive market of ideas can generate the best ideas. So if you have a broad debate, no holds barred, people can critique each other, can develop their own ideas, and then you create an ecosystem of ideas where the best rise to the top and the worst get just ridiculed out of fashion. That's the idea behind it.
And why do you think now, in particular, is an important time?
Well, I think it's exactly what you just said. No one knows what our future is going to look like at the moment. No one has the answers. No one knows. People can see certain developments that are happening, like AI, biotechnology, big data, but they don't know what the implications are going to be. It could be really great, it could be really bad. So it leaves like an unwritten script, as you said. So what we need to do is take control of that conversation and make the future exciting. How do we make the future exciting? We generate the ideas that people are going to rally behind and people are going to get behind, and they're going to solve the issues that we can identify. Because we need to do two things. We need to identify the problems and then find the solutions. And we can only do those two things having a big conversation. And I really like Elon Musk. I think he's a cool guy. And he says that he wants to go to Mars because it's what gets him up in the morning. He can't imagine a future that isn't interplanetary because that's boring. And we need to generate the ideas, the political and economic version of going to Mars, because we're in the 21st century. So we need to be ambitious, that ambitious.
I like that. That's a good note of optimism to end on.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Sure.
Thank you very much, Oliver.
Thank you very much.
Hello, so here is our third and final guest, Brianna Pedigado. I'm going to introduce you as a rock star disruptor. How do you feel about that?
That's really kind.
My first question is, if I say economics for change, what comes to mind?
When I hear economics for change, I think of something that must be incredibly disruptive, but I think also instinctively, I think of something that isn't economics. But I think we do know that economics is based on a number of assumptions. That's how it's designed, that's how it works. And I think economics for change would disrupt those fundamental assumptions and be pretty radical.
We'd like to think so. Okay, so my second question is, you're founder director of Edinburgh Students' Art Festival. Do you want to briefly tell us about that?
Definitely. So the Edinburgh Student Arts Festival was set up in 2014 after conversations with students across Edinburgh College of Art and the University of Edinburgh. But more importantly, I think it was born out of my own sense of feeling quite creatively stifled while I was at university and really not feeling like there was a good outlet for that. And what was driving that for me was giving people a platform to come up with innovative ideas, test things, try and fail, and collaborate with people they've never met before.
Why do you think the university setting isn't embodying a problem-solving mentality? And do you think there's room for it to?
Universities at the moment and higher and further education at the moment are at a real tipping point, and it's kind of a moment of a massive paradigm shift that's giving us opportunity to question, is university training us for a job after we graduate, for a career, or is it something else? And I really think that universities have all of the resources to create a space for people to be collaborative and disruptive and to really change things. And I think people that are of that mind do use it for that, but I don't think at the moment it's designed in a way that allows everyone to work in that way.
Yeah. Inequalities still exist in society. Gender one is one a lot of us care about. How do you think we can disrupt that?
I think we can disrupt some of the inequalities that are taking place in gender by redesigning our society. And a lot of this is about structural inequalities, systemic inequalities, but a lot of that is ingrained viewpoints and normalized behaviors and ideas that people have based on how society currently exists, and whether or not it's new apps, for example, for people to report sexual assault anonymously, whether or not it's for people to understand that the gender pay gap is real and see that calculated and in their face, whether or not it's actually just giving people that come from all genders, non-binary people, trans people, the opportunity to see and feel what it's like to be in positions of power and create institutions and spaces that are more open to them. I think that's how we can really disrupt gender inequality.
Social business. What disruption could make this mainstream?
I think businesses that are businesses for good, that are ethical, that still focus on profit. At the end of the day, a company is a company, but they either reinvest that profit back into the company for a social issue or fundamentally employing people in an ethical way. Big business that is social and a business for good and driven by purpose is disrupting the planet right now, and particularly in Scotland as well. You look at what's coming out of Edinburgh and coming out of this country as a whole. I think social business is the only way forward, because fundamentally our generation cares about what happens to the products we buy, where they come from, the services we use, how it's impacting us, our planet, our peers. And I think the only way forward really is business that's social.
Yeah. So you've had a few more years of experience than me.
I don't know. Well, you can say that, but I don't know.
What can I take to positively disrupt things for the better?
I think the most important thing to take is, if you have an idea, don't keep it to yourself. Like, chat to other people about it. And most likely, if you just put your all, into something and go for it, something will come of it. And I think with a kind of open source, technology we have and information, you can quite easily set up a website or think about how shared space and resources can be used in innovative ways. So my kind of big piece of advice is just go do it. And if you fail, that's all right. That's part of the process.
Cool. With that, I can take a bit of hope. You've launched a new consultancy, Povo, that's trying to find new ways for us to engage in the defining issues. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Sure. So Povo is a consultancy in 3 parts. We basically use principles of play and the creative process to help people work through their concepts and ideas. And essentially, we have three components. We have a laboratory, so we just prototype and make things and break them because we feel like it, and we're testing out new ideas. We have a research arm, so we're very much looking at what does the 21st century consultancy look and feel like that allows you to bring your full self to work. And the third is the active arm. So we work with everyone from big data, churches, and other companies to help them work through their ideas and essentially give them the tools to really engage with divergent thinking so that they're more innovative. So POVO is incredible just because I think it's radical in the sense that it's led by us, it's led by play and playfulness, and I think the only way to be disruptive is to have fun with it.
Well, Brianna, thank you so much for coming. You've given us a huge amount to think about and a huge note of optimism to leave on. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Today we've seen great notes of optimism, but we've also seen a sense that we can and we should be doing far more. We must take an active role in our future, and we must mobilize around this transformation, this redesign of our education, of business, of our economy. And if we successfully do this, the 21st century will be one we flourish.